We are recording.
Okay, great. Thank you, Julie. Hi, my name is Natalie, and joining me is Karen. This is Breaking Barriers using one-page infographics, all about the barrier-free project at Colorado Mountain College. Thank you for joining us today. Before we get into our presentation, I do want to share how we made this presentation accessible. So we will be sharing our slides. They'll be available as a PDF. All of our documents follow the WCAG guidelines, 2.1 AA, so they are accessible to people who use assistive technology. And then I do want to make everyone aware of the closed captioning feature in Zoom. If that is something you're interested in, you can go to um, it was options and then closed captioning. So you can turn that on if you need to. And then we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Natalie. I am the Learning Technology Equity and Access Administrator at Colorado Mountain College. Go ahead, Karen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Kaemmerling. I am the Assistant Dean of Instruction for Online Learning. We did include our emails there in case you want to jot those down and ask us questions separately after the session.
So we're hoping that you'll get three main pieces of, I don't know, exploration from this session. So first, we're going to explore the one-pager format, which we use for our barrier-free project. We'll discuss the efficacy of the eBook as a way to deliver professional development to your faculty. And then we're going to review some of the insights, opportunities, and challenges for the implementation of a ebook process like this that we did with the barrier-free learning project.
Hey, so as anyone who is very involved in professional development at an institution, there are certain conundrums that come your way to holding professional development opportunities. So Natalie and I both work with the instructional design team at Colorado Mountain College. And then we also offer support in our actual roles at the institution. And we have some things that we were really trying to impart some knowledge, find out what faculty needed, and get some involvement from our community. But what we found when we did webinars, for example, is that we had a very low attendance rate, and it was kind of the same, maybe 10 people if we were lucky, that would come to, whether it was a lunchbox session, a workshop held over a couple days, or something that was monthly, or each week. And so we found that we were investing a tremendous amount of time in creating all kinds of canvas shells and other things, and really not getting a lot of return on our investment for the time that we were investing in it. And it was a little defeating, to be honest. Natalie and I were pretty disappointed in it at times when we had invested hours and hours well beyond what might be expected, and just didn't see it making the impact we were hoping for. And then what we kind of discovered as well is that when we're doing some of those workshops and things for our institution, they weren't really connected to a larger strategy at the college as a whole. And so they were piecemeal type things that somebody said, hey, you should do this, and not really connected to a bigger picture. And so one day Natalie and I were just brainstorming, and we came up with our solution, which we call the Barrier-Free Learning Project. I think the next slide, Natalie.
Yep, so that's exactly it. We decided that we needed a more defined strategy. We were like Karen was saying, it felt piecemealed where we were finding little problems and tackling it with a webinar here or one-on-ones with faculty there. It didn't feel like it was connected to an overall strategy. So we wanted a consistent resource connected to a larger targeted strategy. And based on Karen and mine's background, we really wanted to focus on neurodiversity and inclusion at CMC. That was something that we thought all of our students could benefit from and all of our faculty needed support in. So that was our defined strategy. We were also feeling just burnt out with the webinars, with trying to tackle all these problems with piecemealed solutions. So we wanted to find a strategy that increased the ROI. It was more than just the same 10 people. It was more than just, a couple views on, you know, uh, uh, something that we put on our learning management system. We wanted something that was more bang for our buck. And like I said, we were a little bit burnt out. We wanted to have more fun. We wanted something that was easier for us to implement, something that we could enjoy doing, something that made our time useful. And that's how we came to the Barrier-Free Learning Project. So what is Barrier-Free Learning Project? We've said it a couple times now, and you're thinking, like, what are they talking about? So we developed a ebook. It's 50 pages and growing right now. Each page is its own infographic style page that has just one problem that we're tackling connected to the larger solution. It's graphically designed. It's really engaging. It's all connected to our larger strategy. We have three different categories of pages that we've been working on. The first one is learning about neurodivergence. The second grouping is UDL and mindful teaching strategies. And then we're a Canvas institution. The third category is Canvas tips and tricks with some of those more technical needs for some of our faculty and adjuncts. The book is consistent in where it is posted. So we put it weekly as an announcement on Canvas, and it's also in our internal intranet site we call it Basecamp. It's a SharePoint site. So they're consistently there every Monday. You can see the next page in the ebook. And we really designed these to be quick bites. It's easy to understand, easy to implement, easy to digest. You can read it in less than 60 seconds. It's graphically like made and it should be really engaging. And it's just like a quick bite that anybody can use. And so I'm going to take a second to show us the actual book. Hopefully you guys can see this. Everyone see my screen okay? So this is the book. We put a Creative Commons license on it with the intention that we are going to make this an OER. But you can see we have the three buckets that we call them, learning about neurodivergence, UDL and mindful teaching practices, and Canvas tips and tricks. And we follow this same color palette throughout. So these are in all of the pages that we've made so far. This is our table of contents. And so we have them classified by each bucket. And so this is an example of a couple of the pages. So this is one of our mindful teaching pages. It's all about UDL and trauma informed. You can see that it's graphically oriented. It's really easy to understand. We have some links. We have things that we've observed in the classroom that we're pulling into this. This is an example of our Canvas tips and tricks page. It's green, so that's how I know it's part of Canvas tips and tricks. It's all about simple syllabus, which is one of the tools that we use. And then this one is an example of our neurodiversity page. And so this is all about dyslexia. And so we're trying to make it quick and easy to understand and something that you can walk away with in under 10 minutes to understand another piece of neurodiversity or mindful teaching or UDL.
And I'll just jump in. So some of them are also sort of like action items, so things for people to think about when they're doing some of these things. So we kind of tell people what it is, how it might affect students, and then some tips on how to help students or things they could embed in their courses to be more effective. So I'll pause. And sorry, Natalie. Jump.
Nope, I think that's perfect. Um, yeah, I think the only other thing that I was going to add is that we do have links sometime that you can expand upon it if you have more than, the 10 minutes that we intend for these. If you wanted to take some more time, sometimes we have links that go out to more information. Any questions on the book?
So if we want to obtain a copy of this book, do we go to OER? I mean, I work for CMC, but I mean for others that might be looking at it.
That's a great question. So, Joanne, since you're at CMC, you would go to our internal internet to get it. But Karen and I have been discussing what is next for this project, and we'll get into it later in this session, um, and how we're going to turn this into an OER and cleanse it from some of the CMC specific items to make it into an OER that would be more applicable for everybody.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're not quite there, but we have plans because we are pretty proud of this work, and I think it gives a great foundation for faculty when they're in, engaging in things that maybe they haven't been trained in, as well as like K-12 has. Okay, now.
No, that's good and useful.
Yeah. So inside each of these pages, the pieces that we prioritized, we made sure that each of the pages were aligned to our overall topics. So we might be exploring, this is all about ADHD, but it's aligned to our topic of neurodiversity. So everything is connected to neurodiversity, UDL, and mindful teaching, and Canvas tips and tricks. So that kept our scope really tight. We didn't want to touch OER, or sorry, not OER, AI. We didn't want to touch some of those other things that I know we could have. We wanted to keep it within our lane, so to speak. We made sure that all of our pages were in an infographic layout, very consistent branding with the same colors. You knew exactly what you were looking at, same fonts, everything like that. And then we made sure that they're quick and easy to read. We used plain language. We cited resources. We made sure that there was lots of pictures, so it was minimal reading, very easy to digest. Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is mine, but I can't see the number. Oh, there we go. All right. So, um, we really, last time we came to ELCC, we were really just kicking off this project. And we started really thinking about how can we measure whether this is successful? Because you know how many people show up in a webinar, you know how many people you talk to one-on-one. And so there are a couple things that we have attempted to do. So for instance, for direct measurement, we monitor the views that a page gets each week. And so we could monitor it for longer term, but we definitely monitor at least once a week to see how many views did we get. And it's really interesting to see what interests faculty and when. And so we've been paying close attention to that, but definitely, our average is around 60 hits a week. And there's more or less, but that's a pretty exciting thing. And we can only monitor the views within the Basecamp one-stop shop place for CMC. What we can't seem to be able to count at the moment is how many hits we get from our Canvas link. When it's in a Canvas announcement, we haven't been able to really determine whether we're getting as much or less traffic there. We also receive quite a few comments from individuals who view our pages. Sometimes it's a spelling mistake, but also we get a lot of comments about, this was super helpful, that this is really important to my family because we have a child who's coming up with ADHD, or those kinds of things. And so getting those one-on-one comments has been really rewarding, and is really why I think I am highly motivated to do it. And then we also do a survey at the end of each semester, and Natalie and I are going to talk about that and the results of that a little bit later. Um, so also for indirect involvement, you see people who suddenly get interested in what we're talking about. I've had faculty who, at the end of the semester between terms, they read the whole book and ask questions about it. We have found that there are certain pages that are highly impactful at certain times in a semester. So we will rerun some of those when it's particularly timely, such as how to respond to letters of accommodation and that kind of thing. And then we see faculty using some of these strategies in our courses or even in their daily lives. So when this project kicked off, we were launching another project about Ally and trying to get our accessibility scores up. And what we did see is this was a at least correlated event in that we were providing awareness to the college in a very non-threatening way to faculty to increase motivation to make their ally scores higher. And so we definitely are seeing an increased awareness across the entire college staff and faculty, but also our ally scores did go up over the year. And so I think that's a direct connection to personalizing and sort of storytelling some of the different neurodivergence needs of students in their classrooms.
And to contextualize some of the ally scores, we started this semester at a 90% for the college. So I do think that this project had a big part in that. And just as Karen said, a non-threatening way to share some of these strategies. And the only other thing I'll add is sometimes we do see printouts of our pages on campus. And so we do know that people are using them and they might not be specifically asking, like, oh, hey, Karen, can I get a copy of this page? They just take it, print it out, and use it. So,
yeah, I have definitely seen that sitting on various pages, or various pages sitting in places, and all of our staff, such as other assistant deans of instruction like myself, have access to the book to print out a page for a faculty or whatever if they need it to. So it's a handy tool for everyone. So we think these are the reasons the project was working and hitting and being appealing to more faculty than some of our other options. It was generally aesthetically pleasing, very much a just-in-time type of topic, as you saw. And again, the timing of our page releases is very strategic on what a faculty might encounter as the ebbs and flows of the semester go on. We tried to make it very applicable, not just for teaching, but also for staff, for their personal lives, to really just tell the story of the things the students might be experiencing. So like the trauma-informed instruction. Trauma-informed information is really useful to people regardless of whether they're a faculty member or not. So it was widely applicable, and we did receive feedback from people who aren't instructors at the college. And then just knowing where to look for it. We did consider the option of emailing it to everyone every week, but we figured that would go into the email abyss of people ignoring it and thinking, oh, I'll come back, and they never do. So really just putting it in a place where they would see it when they're logging in for their instruction, or seeing it when they do their normal business is how we approached it. And I think that was pretty successful.
So we did mention that we did a survey to help find a little bit more directness in how this was being, how people are participating in this project at the college. So we posted a Microsoft form in the same links that we had for the pages. So it was on Canvas and then our internal intranet SharePoint. And so we received 21 responses, which is actually pretty good for a short survey like ours. And what we found interesting is of those responses, the majority of the respondees were adjuncts. our adjunct faculty, and that's a notoriously hard group to engage at our college. We found that most of those individuals view the pages, the Barrier-Free Learning Project on Canvas. 52% said that they view on Canvas. And you might have remembered Karen said that we get about 60 hits a week, sometimes more, on our Basecamp, our internet. And if our participants are saying that they are viewing it mostly on Canvas, then we can maybe extrapolate that we're getting, I don't know, closer to 100, 120 um, hits on total between Canvas and Basecamp. So we're pretty proud of that. And the other interesting part is because we introduced them as individual pages, many people did not know that this project was part of an ebook. So that changed our strategy a little bit to make sure that we are directing people to the ebook each time so they know that it's part of the larger um, the larger book. So this is a little bit more of our results. We asked how often do you read a barrier-free learning page? And the responses were great. I mean, most people said between often or frequently, um, uh, which makes sense. I don't know why you would do the survey if you're part of the Never group, but I guess some people did. So we thought that was great that lots of people look at this every week, at least 50%. And then we also had an additional question here of how often do you share it with people? And 50% of our respondees said that they share it with their peers. Um, And then we also asked, what topics would you like to learn about? Because Karen and I are consistently thinking about, okay, where do we need to go next with the pages? What's our next page? What's happening at the college? And we wanted to get feedback of where we should go. And we thought this was really interesting because our favorite pages to make were learning about neurodivergence. And that's not what everybody else loved. Everybody else in our survey was saying, no, we want more Canvas. And we were like, ah, really? You want more Canvas? You want more Canvas tips and tricks? But it was good to know, and it made sense for our audience being mainly adjunct faculty. They wanted help in making their courses more accessible, learning about how to use our learning management system. They wanted help in Canvas, so that changed our strategy a little bit. So when we do reruns of our pages, we tend to make sure that we do reruns of our Canvas content to make sure that we are supporting those individuals and giving them what they wanted. And then we are focusing on, on Canvas to make sure that we're meeting their needs.
And I would just add, I think that's just really interesting for this group as a whole, as you're thinking about your own professional development, and we have these great ideas and topics, but sometimes we're not really aware of what's important to the people who we're designing it for. And so that was really an extra that I'm taking away.
Mm-hmm. And I think also if your audience is adjunct faculty, which is, can be a difficult audience to reach, this is how you do it. You're giving them the just-in-time tips of what they need to know, which is how do you function on your learning management system.
So we have been doing the barrier-free learning project for just over a year. We started it in the spring of 25, and we maintained it throughout the summer. And we plan to do it for one more summer. But we've also included faculty who wanted to write their own pages. We had a few faculty who expressed interest because they were experts in trauma-informed instruction or neurodivergence. And we've had a few other experts who have contributed to pages along the way. And so that also adds to the interest and legitimacy. I think, for one, a faculty member who creates a page is super excited to share it with their peers when it's published. So it draws some attention, but also, it creates some investment from the community that we are reaching out to, because they know that we're valuing their own expertise in this area and encouraging them to share it with us. And so we did really protect what voices and what topics we allowed into the project, and maybe even to the frustration of some of our administrators. But we were careful not to get into things that were um, maybe motivated by other things than outside of the three topics that we wanted to do. And we are involved in projects that are outside of that, but we felt like it would get too confusing and dilute our messaging. And then we were careful to not get into something that might be too triggering for faculty or feel like it was coming from the administration or something like that. So we really tried to focus on what they needed for their day-to-day teaching. So one of the reasons we probably avoided AI. So I see in the chat there was a question about how the engagement compared to other learning opportunities. And so just Kristen, to give you an idea, we basically had the 10 same people show up to any event, whether it was a webinar or a workshop or Canvas course. And so this is getting more, probably between 60 and 120 in a given week. And so the distribution on the ROI was really the motivating factor for us. I don't know exactly how many faculty are on the campus because of adjuncts and all of that, but probably 500 would be my wild guess between all the locations. But Natalie, do you know?
Um, I shoot, it could even be more than that. We are largely adjunct faculty, and we so we're Colorado Mountain College, so we employ uh, faculty from essentially all over the state. So it is really hard to bring anybody together for a in-person event that essentially just doesn't happen at CMC. And then getting people together for webinars is very difficult as well. So I think that this is a project that was really helpful for our college because we do have 11 campuses and we are largely adjunct faculty and spread across the whole state. So that was another reason I hadn't thought about until now why I think it was successful.
Um, so yeah, you heard me mention that we are looking at sunsetting the barrier-free learning project, and we have really loved this project. Natalie and I really enjoy working together, and honestly, this project is one of the great highlights of my week. I look forward to I'm more of a content person, and Natalie is great at making it look beautiful. But because I'm not, but have really worked together as a team on this. And I think if you were implementing it at your own institution, is finding a good pair who can work together and play to each other's strengths is important. But we have some reasons that it's time to let it go. We do see some shifting priorities at the institution, other goals beyond what we're covering in the book. AI, for example, is a very hot topic and how it could evolve at the college. And so we do see some shifting priorities. We also have a new, very highly engaged professional development body called the Office of Teaching and Learning that is run by faculty for faculty. And they are doing some amazing work with webinars every Friday that are about 2 hours long, and they're having great success getting people to attend those. And so we don't necessarily need to repeat all the amazing things that they are doing with our pages either. And they do advertise our book on their website. We kind of really hit these topics pretty hard, especially for higher education. And so we're kind of running out of ideas and running out of things that we can be original with and really be something that excites faculty or our audience in general when they look at it. And so it is time to move on.
Yep. And the only other thing I would add to that is we have almost 50 pages of this book now. It's feeling full. It's a full book. So it does feel like it could be time. So we just wanted to talk through some guidance if you were interested in implementing something similar to this at your institution. Um, we do believe that this project is really helpful if you're trying to reach those more difficult to reach audiences, such as adjunct faculty, or if um, you don't have one campus, you have many, and things along those lines, because it does provide that just-in-time information for when they need it most. And so there's a couple things we would suggest. Karen already mentioned this. You want to make sure that you have a small team that you trust. I went on maternity leave for 3 months this spring, and Karen was able to keep the project going. And I mean, you have to be able to trust your partner. I think if we had a larger team, we would have struggled a lot more. So keeping it small, partnership that someone you trust is really helpful. Karen also mentioned this, play to each other's strengths. Karen and we have this really good rapport where, she'll like think of an idea and I'm like, oh, that could be a page. And then we'll brainstorm it together. And then um, Karen has like the great content knowledge, and sometimes I'm better at making it pretty. So, you want to make sure that you are working with someone that you can like tag team with each other.
And I'll just add that again, making it pretty, like that is definitely not my strength. But Natalie and I also have a lot of teaching background, and we're really able to um, think about what is needed. And so Natalie is super informed on a lot of topics and provides a lot of great ideas that I haven't even considered, and a lot of technical background too that I don't have. And so I think it works well together to have people that can collaborate, and I would create a page or she would create a page, and we would go, oh, this needs that, or this would be better if we did it this way, or those kinds of things, or oh, I found a spelling mistake or a capitalization, because we are trying to squeeze it in amongst all the other things that we're doing. So it is really good to have a strong communication on it.
That is good context, Karen, because this project was outside of our normal scope. We are part of an instructional design team, so we're allotted 10 hours a week to do that work. And so this had to fit in less than 10 hours a week. So it really, you know, that's part of it too, was being able to play to each other's strengths. And that leads me into my other point of making sure that your scope is pretty tight. We knew that we had 3 topics that we wanted to work on. It was universal design for learning, it was um, learning about neurodivergence, and then it was Canvas tips and tricks. We left everything else out. Somebody else could handle that. We kept our scope really tight. And then the second part of this is we made sure that we had maybe just like, I wouldn't even say this was a procedure, but we did have a cadence to the week. So we would like be in communication on Monday to know what we needed to do for the week to be able to post it by the next Friday or the next Monday. So there wasn't a period where Karen and I were messaging over the weekend. Weekends are sacred, so we were never messaging over the weekend about barrier-free learning projects. So making sure that you have those operating procedures down so you're not bugging each other to have this be like, oh, just one more thing. Um, and then we used Venngage. This presentation is using Venngage. It's similar to Canva. I recommend this platform because it is really easy to make your content accessible, which if you're going to do something like this, you want to make sure that you're following the WCAG guidelines and having an accessible product. So I don't know, this is not an ad, but I encourage Venngage. It's much better than Canva. Canva is the worst. And then the last thing is keep your pages short and short, sweet, and know where to share them in your institution so that you get the most bang for your buck. For us, that was posted as an announcement on Canvas and then in our intranet base camp. Okay. Well, we kept that quick, so we'll open it up to any questions. And I can pull up the book if anyone is interested in looking at more pages.
Thanks, Natalie. Yeah, I think bringing up the book in case somebody wants to see a page, and then any other questions, we're happy to field those now. And I don't know if we can turn off the recording now, Julie, because in case people are